in order to maintain national security and stability, and to prevent criminals from hoarding a large amount of A4 white paper to carry out illegal subversive activities, our company has decided to suspend all online and offline sales of white paper through cooperative channels from midnight tonight. Hello, and welcome to the Chinese podcast. Now, an introduction of today's interview with Mick and why. Okay, so today we have a special interview, and it's our second installment of the Expat Experience, and we're talking to Mick. And Mick is an Irishman from Sligo, which is a beautiful part of the country, even though it gave the world Westlife. Located on the west coast of Ireland, and it's famous for being the burial place of the poet W.B. Yeats. And Westlife, we mentioned previously, they had an online concert over WeChat, which had hundreds of millions of people listening to it. Now, Mick has been living in China for 8 years, mainly in Shanghai. He was in Guangzhou. He doesn't have any job that he wishes to tell anybody about, but he is an educated man, and he has a master's in journalism and has been involved in the music scene in Shanghai for a while, playing in a number of bands, and he is a very culturally aware person. And if you listen to our episode about Paddy Maloney with the spice sausage and the velociraptor, then you should be familiar with the type of Irish traditional music that Mick plays. And it's great to hear that the genre is alive and well in China. Now, why are we talking to Mick today? Well, he gained some notoriety a few days ago on November the 27th, when he shot multiple videos of the events that transpired on the Anfu Wulumuqi road in Shanghai. Many of these videos achieved several hundreds and even thousands of views on Twitter and racked up some new followers for Mick at the same time. And it has led to the Irish Times newspaper running a profile of his experience. Now, Mick, you're very welcome to the show, and thank you for reaching out to us mutually. And let me ask, have you ever been guilty of hoarding too much white paper?
Yeah, I've been I actually saw one of my coworkers like walking around with some white paper, and then I was like, I pointed out, I was like, do you realize what you're doing? But anyways, I must say, actually, that turned out to be a hoax. That press statement, that press release. So like the company that supposedly like put out that press release sort of denied it. But if they deny something, then are they going to have to admit that there's something happening?
Yeah, like we put it in there because it was it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know who put it out. Somebody put it out.
Paper cuts are lethal, man. Paper cuts are lethal.
Oh, absolutely. Right. So, but you were at the scene of the white paper crime in recent days, and we're going to get into all of that later. But first, let's create a picture here. Give us an idea of where Wulumuqi Road is in relation to the rest of Shanghai. And what is the significance of this location for the purpose of staging what was an overnight vigil and a protest?
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't really know Pinyin, Wulumuqi is the Pinyin name for Urumqi, which is the administrative capital of Xinjiang. So Kashgar would be the cultural capital of Xinjiang, and Urumqi would be the biggest city, and it's also where that big fire took place that killed about 10 people. But and of course, because there was like a lot of cars parked blocking the roads, because there was because as we know, there's a big lockdown in Urumqi, for about over 100 days now. So a lot of cars would have been frozen over and they couldn't move for the fire brigades that needed to go in to put out the fire. But of course, but at the end of the day, 10 people died, and that sparked a lot of anger in Urumqi, which led to, and also there's been a lot of riots in Guangzhou, people knocking down barriers and stuff.
Yeah.
They're doing a lockdown as well. So, and of course the Urumqi fire, that became big news, and that kind of became a catalyst. So, anyways, there's a street in Shanghai, well, just like every city in China, all the streets are named after different cities in China.
Yeah. So one of the things that I saw was a fire truck. I saw some videos of the building, and the spray from the fire truck didn't reach.
Yeah.
It didn't reach the building, and the building's on fire, and the water was just falling short. And so Mick and myself, we all know, everyone in China knows. Everyone in China knows.
You don't need to look over the wall to see that. Discussions about it would be a lot more restricted, because one of the worst things you can do in China, according to the powers that be, would be to spread rumors, and that's always like, it's like, we deleted that because of rumor spreading, it's like, okay, like, well, I mean, like, it's like if someone said that the doors were barricaded shut, it'd be like, no, that's not true. It was actually because there was like a bunch of barricades outside the sharpshooter compound. So like, minor details they'll make.
Well, one of the things that I would say to that is that when this virus first happened, I was in Guangzhou, which is the next big city up the river from Wuhan, and my building was actually welded shut, and the doors were welded shut.
Oh, but that's I mean, I had a padlock out on my door. At the 4 days before the big Shanghai lockdown, they put a chain around my front door, and it's not unheard of. It's not like it's like, it may not have happened in this case. But it's like, it's on people's minds, like, the minutia mightn't be. It mightn't exactly be that, but it's on people's minds. Like, lockdown for 100 days, they're pissed off and they need to.
And exactly, and and in regards to the front door being welded, the front door was welded shut in my building. However, the basement door that led into the car park was shut with some wire that was twisted together, so it would have been very easy to actually get out of that. But yay, that's Chinese engineering for you. So let's start at the beginning, because it seemed like it was a very long day for you. What time of day were you along the Wulumuqi road? And when you started recording videos and posting them online, can you describe the general mood in the area at the time?
So the reason I went down there is because there was actually a protest the night before. I stayed in that night, and then woke up the next day and I saw videos posted all around Twitter of protests. Because I knew there was protests in a bunch of cities, but I didn't know there was any in Shanghai. And I saw what they were doing. They were laying down flowers on the Wulumuqi Road street sign, and then people were doing big chants. And apparently this is really late, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So, and I sort of thought that I missed the boat. I was like, it would have been interesting to see that. So and it was, that was on a Saturday. And then on Sunday, I was just, myself and girl, I'm teaching my girlfriend how to drive an e-bike. So I said, So I was like, how is it? It's like, there's a really nice falafel place down on Wulumuqi Middle Road. Yeah, but also I was like, maybe we might see there might be some activity. And she's a bit it's like, well, what are you talking about? So it's like that was last night. You're not going to see anything. And I was like, you never know. So she was driving down. I was on the Meituan bike. giving her moral support. As we went down to the intersection of Wulumuqi Road and Anfulu, we could see like a bunch of police and like a lot of people sort of milling around. Like there was so like the police weren't moving anyone along, but like I stopped and waited around. So like I waited around for a bit. We saw like people with flowers, and then like people would put down flowers, and then like everyone would swarm around the flowers at the street. Cheers. Including that guy who got arrested, the BBC guy. He was he was obvious. He was so obvious. Like
was he?
But I could even hear because I was across the road watching, and like I could hear some like Chinese people sort of like comment. It's like oh, why go around? Is like that foreigner is like going around taking pictures at every angle. It's like, okay, well, yeah, he's not being subtle. And then like, and there was a guy, he's like undercover, well, not really undercover cop, just plain clothes cop. And then he just pick up the flowers and take them away. And like it was a bit of that. My girlfriend got bored, and I was like, well, I'm sticking around. She went home, and then about 5 minutes after she left, that was like when the first arrest happened. It was like some guy starts chanting. The usual chants. Like he gave us a speech. I couldn't get. I recorded it. I put it on Twitter. But the gist of it being, we're sick of lockdowns. We're here to mourn what happened in Urumqi.
Your first video, it showed a bus full of sleeping cops, who I guess they'd been called in specifically to maintain order. Was there a sense at that point that something might kick off or that things might get ugly? What was people's reaction to the police presence?
I mean, people just standing around, like, because like just waiting for someone to just pop up and give a speech. A lot of the most famous arrest, I guess, was that guy, like he was like holding flowers. I think that's the video of mine that got most attention. It's also the video, so like when he got arrested, that video was on CNN, and you could see me in the video. And I was like, I saw myself in the video wearing my NUI Galway University hoodie and stuff. But
I'll just stand over here to the left.
He was giving a speech. He's like holding up flowers, like sort of like saying like, oh, it's like we're here to mourn. It's like if we're not afraid, then they will be afraid and stuff. And then like a police car drives up, then they arrest him, and all the most famous pictures of the protest would be him getting arrested. It was pretty rough. Then about so like actually like I got really hungry, and then I went to get a bagel. It's like, okay, so like I went to get a bagel, and like I was just sitting down, and there's like the line of police cars was like going all the way down Anfu Road, and I was just sitting there eating a bagel, and like I saw someone get arrested. I think so I must have missed something, so like I walked in there to record that. Then when I walked back, I saw more police walking in the same direction as me, and they all made that formation, and I was like, oh, they're about to announce something. And then someone comes on the bullhorn and says like you are all disrupting traffic. It's like we all have to vacate. And then they all gathered around like the intersection, and then they pushed everyone. Like I was pushed south, and then like a bunch more people were pushed north. And I got some videos of that. And we were pushed down to Wuyanlu, which is like parallel to Anfulu. And like we pushed us down, and there's another big crowd down there also protesting, holding up white papers. Some people holding up a picture of Chairman Mao.
So Wuyanlu, which is correct me if I'm wrong, it runs parallel to Urumqi.
No, it intersects with Wulumuqi. It runs parallel to Anfulu.
It runs parallel to Anfulu, and so on that street there were also protests. Like because they blocked big sections of Wulumuqi. So the big sections of it. So like people, and they put up barricades. Like I was in the. I eventually joined in the group. I saw some people that I knew. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So can you tell me about the guy in the white mask who kept removing flowers?
Yeah, I mentioned him already. Like, I remember he was yeah, I said there was like one plainclothes guy. Like, yeah, he was kind of like, I think, yeah, he was their boss. He was moving the flowers. Yeah, I also saw like when they started moving flowers from the bottom of the street sign, then across the road, they put a flowers in the electricity pole,
Yeah.
this Wulumuqi sign, and you see that. I made a little Curb Your Enthusiasm meme for that.
So anyway, from that point on, like things did get nasty, and there were a couple of protesters arrested. What were the protesters saying, and what was the general reaction to their arrests? Because it it was a sizable crowd. It was a fairly sizable crowd, and a sizable crowd assembling on a street in China.
Yeah,
Um, like,
not in
like,
Shanghai either. Yeah, Shanghai is
yeah,
an.
it's an obedient place. Shanghai
It's
is an.
feel like it's probably it's yeah, just said the standard. Like, it's very sort of like liberal, easygoing, but also they're all business orientated. Yeah,
Yeah,
um, yeah, but like yeah, it's been progressively getting better since June. So this protest is more about like there's always like the threat of a lockdown hanging over us. There's still people getting locked down into their communities. Like, we know it could be worse. It could be a big citywide lockdown, and we didn't have much food for that. Yeah, but I know it's also really just the general. Yeah, it's just asking for to open up, to rethink the COVID rules. Like, so like, and maybe anyone listening to outside of China, they might think, because I was like, oh, they're being so authoritarian. They're asking you to wear masks. They're
mm,
they're asking you to show proof of vaccine to get into a business. It's like it's beyond that. It's
yeah,
and it's like just wearing masks. Like, we do that on our own. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the
I'm
mask
so
is a normal thing. Like,
yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah,
so institutionalized that like I think that when they started doing tests at my workplace, I was like, awesome. Yeah, I don't have to queue up.
yeah, 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 yeah.
The best thing ever.
Yeah, I was kind of the same because it was like, yeah, test every day. Cool, deadly. I don't have to queue. I can just like walk past people and get tested. It
Yeah.
was but
Might sound a bit bougie, but like I say, maybe like a lot of detractors might say it's like, oh, Shanghai people, they just want to get back to their brunch and whatever. And it's just like,
yeah,
ultimately we just sort of like want something to get excited about. We want to make plans that don't get cancelled randomly just because someone with COVID farted in the same street as us.
yeah, yeah. It's
I
like,
actually went. My band played at a music festival called
yeah,
Avocado Fest near Hangzhou. So it's just a wee bit outside of Shanghai, like in Moganshan. And like the first night we played, it was all good. It was like a small enough festival, small enough crowd, but like, and nice mix of like foreigners and Chinese. And first night was great. Second night, yeah, like we saw some police coming in, like talking to organizers, and when the police show up, they're always like, yeah, just sort of milling around, and
yeah.
then like they don't look that menacing, and then I was like, oh yeah, they're
And
they're,
they're not medicine.
they're
They're
gonna
not
wreck.
medicine to start. They're not
Yeah.
medicine to start. They're just kind of hanging around with you.
They just have like the police in China. They're not very intimidating, and they don't really have that much personality. They're just like, they're kind of they're just
They're just there. They're just there, and then
less so when they're always masked as well. But anyways, like, this festival, like, they're so it was like the music stops, then like we're all told that we, like, everyone at the festival, even people passed out in the tents, like, is like, get up, like, we have to
yeah,
do COVID test. And then and then after that, like, after about an hour, I was like, oh, there's like sort of killed the mood, and then the music
yeah.
festival started up again, and I was like, way nice.
Yeah. So like when people started to get arrested on the street, like the crowd, did they instantly react, or
They did, but they didn't really escalate, like, because like, I mean, like, I don't even know if the police would want an escalation. Like, this is like Shanghai's protest would be pretty tame compared to what I'm seeing in Lanzhou, or Lanzhou.
Yeah.
Like, or even Guangzhou before the fire, like they were like tossing over police cars and like beating up people in the hazmats. I'd say because Shanghai is basically open, like it feels, there's like, I mean, like just like lashing out at the police, that's not really, because like they don't really run the city, like it's the
it's not there.
it's
They
like,
didn't do it.
they didn't do it, like so it's like what's really the point, like like it's like they've done their protests, like it's all over the news, like it's not getting ignored. I'd say like so when people did get arrested, then just get jeered at, have everyone was recording, so like the police couldn't just tell them, like it's like, oh no, you can't record, you can't say that to everyone. So like I was able to record, and that's what
I saw I think it was an Australian Channel 5 news reporter who was actually in the process of interviewing a member of the crowd there as the police decided to push forward. Like at what point did the police push you off the street?
That was like a recurring process. So like it's like first what they did, like I said, like they made a big square in the intersection, then they start pushing forward, then they rendezvoused with like some police at the barricades at the next street, then people would go there, make their speeches, then they'd announce another advance, and then they pushed us down another street. Then like, I think at the end we were at the intersection of like that road and Changshu Road, which is like a very wide street, and there's like heaps of police everywhere, and that's where like I've seen like a lot of the chanting, the people holding up white paper. I even saw someone holding up an LGBTQ flag.
That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. It's like the protest I used to go to in Dublin, and it's like bring down the student fees. It's like, and free Palestine.
like the typical Sinn Féiner standing there, free Palestine.
See, that's like because protest is so common in Ireland, like nothing, like they never react to the protests. I think like the only time like a protest ever worked in Ireland was like probably when protested against like water charges.
Did it even work, or did people just ignore the water charges?
I mean, like that was like a big victory, but like already like it seems that the government in Guangzhou have like they put up a big propaganda slogan on the top of like Canton Tower saying like it's like we're individually responsible for our own health, and I was like I wonder how they reached that conclusion.
Well, I'll be honest with you, right? And this is right. So this is like my experience from this very day. They put the sign up on that tower last night, and then there was a response issued. We've been locked down. I've been locked in this house for 4 weeks. And this morning I went up. I went down to the gate and I asked them, could I get out? And they said, actually, you can once every 2 days. And then at lunchtime today, at about 1 o'clock today, they said, no, it's fine. You can go. We're not even. They're not even checking health codes anymore. They're not even checking.
This is like protesting in China is an art form. It is like you don't just you just don't throw everything at the wall and then like expect response. You have to be kind of like it. Basically, like a protest, even if you're like knocking over police cars, like what you're saying is like it's like please Beijing, can it's like, can you give us this one thing? Don't insult the leadership. Have a very clear request, I guess.
Like ask for a thing and you might get it.
A lot of the time they do get it actually, and like most protests in China would be like a local grievance. And then because I remember I listened to your podcast and like I I like the term performative governance.
I didn't come up with that. I wish I did.
Yeah,
A much smarter person than me came up with performative governance.
Well, that's why I heard it. And it was like, okay, cool. That's that perfectly sums up like
it is what it is, yeah.
It's like I haven't left my house in 3 weeks, but I'm getting tested every 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like, they're definitely doing something.
Yeah. Speaking about performances, were you there for the sign removal? Because
I was not.
That's one of those Chinese things that it defies belief. And how do you think people will know where the street is now that they don't have a sign?
They just replace it with 404. No, I was just like, okay, so like, they are very tone deaf, aren't they? Like it's like, I don't know who gave that order and who thought, like, it's like, I think this is like the Shanghai government's introduction to the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
It's like, and I didn't even hear about that from my VPN. Like, it was my girlfriend who told me about it. Like, no one's my girlfriend has a VPN, but she never uses it. She might start using it now, like, because of how silly this has gotten.
Yeah.
But it's like, even after all the silliness happens, like, ultimately, like what we want is like, it's like less lockdowns. Less. I mean, like, I don't even care about the tests anymore or the mask. Like, that's not a hill I'm dying on. It's just I saw what they did to my front door before the first lockdown happened. They had a chain around it. My house, my house is over 100 years old. I live in a lane house.
Yeah.
Which is
nice.
So, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cold right now, but
it's cold, but it's nice. It looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's very pretty. But like, anyone listening, 100 years in China is a very long time.
It's probably the oldest building in China.
Easily, yeah. But and that's kind of what we want.
So just in case anybody who's listening doesn't know what happened, they actually removed the sign saying Wulumuqi Urumqi Street. They removed the sign to save it being defaced, to save it being graffitied or destroyed or anything like that. So around the city now, what's the feeling? What's the feeling around the city now?
Like, nothing really happened, really. I mean, like, even it's like, even when I finished with the protests, like, I was like, okay, like, it's like 11 o'clock, like, I'm done. Like everyone's just sort of standing around like Changshu Road, and the police are sort of pushing them one direction. It's like, also I couldn't get my e-bike. Like, when I was teaching my girlfriend how to drive, like, she got I needed it. It's like, no, first I couldn't get the e-bike, so I went around, like, I left one protest, went up the street, and like, it's like all the shops were open, like, it was like nothing was happening at all. Then I went around another corner, and remember what I said, like, they pushed me south and then pushed a bunch of other people north, and I found the north side protesters, and the police were so much more chill at that side. Like, there's a bunch of people like on the street shouting, and the police were just going, it's like, okay, hada. It's like, gotcha, like, just like saying, it's like, okay, move along.
So have you ever experienced anything else like this during your time in China?
No, just I think I've seen a small protest, but like, I used to live out in the boonies, out in Guangdong, in this like small city called Zhenchang.
Yeah.
And I saw what I thought was a protest, but like, my Chinese was like non-existent back then.
So in Shanghai, in spring, you guys were locked down for, I think, like, depending on the place that you were, it was between 70 and 100 days.
Yeah, for me, so like I said, so like, I celebrated my birthday. My birthday is in early March, and like, everything was grand. Then by St. Patrick's Day, everything was locked down.
Yeah.
So, like,
and so I have a
no, not everything was locked down. Sorry, like, I was still able to go out, but just like, you see, like, them sort of like putting up all day. They were getting ready, and then like, they announced at the end of the month that we'd be having like just a week lockdown, 1 week, and that week lasted 2 months.
Yeah. They said that to us on Monday, and I went, oh my God, we're gonna be here until New Year.
The whole
Um,
podcast.
but so what was it like? Did you like how did you get food and stuff like that? Because there was a lot of stories in the papers back then about people not being able to get deliveries of food.
Yeah, that was yeah, I stocked like yeah, my apartment isn't that big, and we have a freezer, we have fridge, and we have like an oven, which isn't very standard in China. But um yeah, we were just like we got these like bags of vegetables and from the government. Like so like I think it was all like micromanaged, I guess, like all like local government. So like I think like I live right in the middle of the city and yeah, so we got our bags of vegetables. Even like my school managed to send us some vegetables after about 5 days.
Yeah.
Um yeah, we could and then like yeah, of course there's like the thing called group buys because like there wasn't enough delivery drivers to like deliver a can of Coke to you or something like that.
Yeah.
As as
So
as, as Shanghai people are known to do. But the yeah, so like you had to really get to know your neighbors, get into a group chat, and then like there'll be one person in charge who's like allowed out to go pick up stuff, and yeah, and
and then
she yeah, so like and so it's okay and you just sort of eat what you're given, like like I can't just say it's like okay, well I don't have enough onions, but I have too much cucumbers. So it's like doesn't matter. This bag has 2 cucumbers, 6 onions, a lot of cabbage. I think probably the biggest symbol of this lockdown was like the excess cabbages that we got.
yeah. And what about meat? Did you get much meat or fish?
We yeah. So some markets would be like yeah, they'd kind of like portion off meat and stuff like that. This is like wow, just talking about it sounds very Soviet like, but yeah, just yeah, you just had to buy a big bulk of it. And look, yeah, actually, like funny enough, my neighbor downstairs, like I'd never met before, he's like American, and like he had a fridge full of meat, but he didn't have any vegetables, so we had a little bar.
So then the barter bid came back, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
that's.
Um, well, it's the things you have to do when you're locked down in China.
I mean, like it's check, yeah, Chongqing. That's the food situation's okay, isn't it?
Is it okay? It started okay. It started
Okay.
okay, and then it slowly progressed into the supermarkets aren't open,
Oh
so
yeah.
they can't deliver to you. So for the last 4 days, if it's something you can buy in like a little vegetable or a little fruit shop, they're open, so they'll deliver to you.
That's great.
So you can get like you can get vegetables, you can get fruit.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds much nicer than what April was like here. But
yeah,
I was like one of the first people allowed to go outside because I live in a lane house. So um yeah, so like usually people live in like big communities. So like yeah, so like in my lane house, like in my lane, I said there's only maybe about 20 people.
yeah,
If we're all in the clear, then we're all allowed outside. But like if you're living in a big compound, then like they're kind of doing very big broad strokes and saying like,
yeah,
oh, this person in like 5 buildings over was shook hands with someone whose auntie had COVID. So yeah,
yeah,
you're not getting cabbage now. But
yeah,
no, but I went out for a cycle and yeah, like it's like one of the things that got me a bunch of followers on Instagram was like I started recording all the like there's loads of tents everywhere, and that was because the delivery drivers because they couldn't go home and but they still wanted to make money from all the big markups. They just had to sleep in tents under the bridge.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's basically what's happening here. You got guys just sleeping in their cars and just there's delivery drivers that just won't go home because they won't get out again.
yeah,
Uh,
very
and
much
as
so.
they slowly do go home, then the deliveries get slower and slower and slower. Um, so and this is the same across basically all of China because all of China right now with the zero COVID, It's at a crossroads. There are mumblings of opening up, and they continue. And Guangzhou, like you said, they said that it's a personal responsibility for each individual to make sure that they're COVID free, and it's lifted a number of restricted.
My uneducated suggestion: if you're vulnerable maybe you could put on the white hazmat suit and stay inside. Maybe not everyone has to. Like,
maybe if you have a pre-existing condition, maybe you should be the dabai. Do you think we're looking at an end of the zero COVID policy in China?
I'll optimistically say before next summer. That's my optimistic.
You say before next summer.
Well, that's when I'm going back to Ireland to visit. So I'd bloody
I haven't left this country since 2019.
Same. I'll tell you what now. I was between 2020 and 2021. Like I was like really trying to hold back like the sort of like it's like, oh, you guys aren't allowed out to party because Ireland was locked down for I say lockdown, but they were. They
were restricted. They were restricted. They weren't locked down because when I was talking to my brother, he was like, oh no, we're locked down. So I just went for a 3-kilometer walk. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
My dog is taking a shit in the living room. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's like, and I'm just like, and I started to become. Because they're all getting really frustrated. So I was like, oh, what's there to be done? I'm wearing my mask, and it's like we're having like our little social distance parties. It's like, have you considered having a guy in a white suit stand outside your house and be an arsehole? I know, like Ireland is in a very population dense country. Like we all like our little houses and our gardens, like looking for an Ireland.
You just get all the nosy neighbours and just dress them all up in white suits. Like all the guys that are really nosy, just let them sit out there in white suits.
Yeah. Oh, man, I knew it was getting serious when I saw like Gardaí wearing masks.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's like, it's like the mask wearing thing. Jesus Christ, that was a hill that people really wanted to die on.
Yeah, but anyway, apparently some people do want to die on the fact that they really don't want to wear a mask.
But I'll say, Shanghai was doing really well for like 2020 and 2021. Like, so that's like, it's like I know a lot of I know we've been like bitching for about like 40 minutes now, but
we're not bitching. We're telling you the truth. Like the things that we've said that are opinion are very limited. We've said very limited things which are opinion.
It's all been very fair enough. Yeah, I'm like it's like I'm becoming the man I hate. I don't want to be like one of those like it's like
as soon as you start talking opinion, I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's like I've become what I hate. A mediocre white guy with hot takes on China.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the only podcast that isn't unsufferable on that front.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Also, it's going to turn into a very going to have a very limited niche, just Irish people who live in China.
So, this is the China podcast, and we've been talking to Mick. Now, Mick, can you tell us your Twitter details and all the stuff how do people get in contact with you and how do people find out about you?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is human Mick. Yeah, I've been very cagey about my name. Like it's like I don't really want to use my full name because I'm not an actual journalist. But like I got a master's in journalism and I use that's my degree that I use to get my visa, so it's not a secret. But it's like and all the aliases I use are just basically variations of my name. But Chinese people really don't understand that my name is like Mick is short for something else.
Yeah.
Not on the passport.
It's actually great to be back with season 2, as I like to call it, of the podcast, and we'll share all the details in our relevant WeChat groups. Follow us on our Twitter handle. Follow Mick on his Twitter handle. Keep safe. Be good. And we will talk to you all soon.